I'd like to welcome to this interview three very special guests who in the early 90s collectively made up the iconic New York City outfit Pillbox, who were, in the opinion of many, very much the genuine rock and roll article. Dialing in from Montreal, we have Mr. Chris Barry. From Tokyo, we have Mr. Ratboy. And it's Mr. Screamin Joe Rizzo from New York City. Gentlemen, good evening or good morning. It's wonderful to chat with you all.
Good morning.
Right.
Well, for the astute rock and roll fans tuning in, they'll know that between the three of you, there are some extensive and rich rock and roll resumes with time spent in bands such as 39 Steps, Motorcycle Boy, Walter Lure and the Waldos, the 222s, BB Buell, Sour Jazz, the Throbbing Purple, Jane County, the Senders, and Marky Ramone and the Intruders, to name but a few. We could spend hours delving into the amazing histories of your time with those bands. However, it is the brand new Pillbox album, Calling from Nowhereland, live in Vancouver, 1994, that is the catalyst for our video hookup today. I guess let's start by focusing on the new album if we can before we get into some band history. And if I may, I will quote from the accompanying press release, which will put you all in the zone. Captured on a freezing February evening at Vancouver's legendary town Pump in 1994, this recording finds Pillbox at their peak, loud, unhinged, and on fire. Rescued from tape and cranked back to life, this release upholds Pillbox's reputation as one of the fiercest live acts around. Also included is a set of rare 1992 demos, the spark that would soon ignite their Jimbo's Clown Room album just a year later. I guess if the three of you cast your mind back to January, February 1994, which finds Pillbox in the midst of a run of Canadian dates supporting the still new Jimbo's Clown Room album, talk us through that particular tour in that time period. I guess, Joe, maybe we could start with you.
It was cold. Freezing. I don't know whose idea it was to put us out on the road through a national tour of Canada in January and February, but we did it. And we were sort of, I guess, the better by the time we got back for it. When we started out there, I was a little green, let's say, which I think Chris and Rat can pick up on. For me, it was an exciting. I'd never been on a national tour before, so the concept, the prospect of going out on a wild road trip to play rock music cross country was an extremely exciting one. And the Screamin Joe Rizzo persona, I had lost my voice. I remember losing my voice in that trip about 3 days into it. It was very exciting, actually.
It was worth
really
it.
It was definitely worth it. It was completely worth it.
Did the band draw a bigger crowd in particular?
Great. Anyway, sorry, Dennis.
No. Did the band draw stronger in a particular town or region on that tour?
Where we would have been popular. I mean, it was a weird tour, right? We could have held our own in Montreal and Toronto at that time, and probably Winnipeg. Well, we didn't when we got there, did we? But there's a few places like Montreal, certainly. Toronto to a point, at that point. But I forgot the question now. Sorry, it's early in the morning for me.
Yeah, that's okay.
Where were we draw better?
Yeah, where were your strongest?
Oh yeah, in that, yeah. But it was a weird tour because nobody really knew us.
Right.
People sort of thought that a few people would know me. But when we've gone out there, it was sort of like, oh shit, well, 39 Steps is like 6 years ago. Like that's a long fucking time. And so we were never that popular to begin with. So it was a little disappointing for me personally that not more people would come out to our solo gigs. But most of that tour, the vast majority, like 80% of the tour, if I remember correctly, and I may not, was opening for a band called Boot Sauce. And Boot Sauce had very little in common with us musically. They were kind of like a sort of ersatz Chili Peppers kind of thing. And they were nice guys and supportive, and they'd had all these gold records and I think platinum records here in Canada prior to this one. So it was like, okay, so we'll get on this road and this tour. It may not be the perfect audience for us. Like the Ramones, turns out was a great audience for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get out there and we'll resonate with with half their audience maybe, and I think we kind of did actually. I kind of remember getting lots of applause and stuff like that with that. But it was kind of a weird act for us to be going out with, you
It
know.
was a weird pairing. The energies of the band were not, of both bands were not really sort of on the same level in any way, right? So, getting
Well,
you for the opening act, you were getting something maybe you didn't expect. Let's put it that way.
it
Yeah,
was
Sort of,
definitely aimed at a different audience. I mean, either you dig us or you dig them, but most of the people went to see them. But
yeah,
this said, I was really surprised on the Town Pump thing that some people actually call out for Motorcycle Boy songs,
right.
which
yes,
which to me is weird because Motorcycle Boy was quite popular in LA and maybe California, but we had never played anywhere. Every time we went outside of LA, people wanted to kill us because of the way we looked and everything. We couldn't pump gas anywhere. It was really weird. So going to Vancouver and having people call for play a Motorcycle Boy song, I was just like, wow,
Good
Yeah.
music
I was
always
quite
find its audience.
surprised
You know
because
that.
the album maybe had come out. I don't about that time, right?
Yeah, that's why we were on the tour, because the album
we
had
were
come out.
promoting. We were
I mean,
trying to promote.
ours, but the Motorcycle Boy album took a while to come out, so it came out
Yes, right.
probably maybe just a little bit before the Clown Room.
Yeah, I think so.
So there might have been some hype for Motorcycle Boy, people connecting it, but I'm surprised when I heard that on the tape. I was like, wow, it's pretty weird. And I kind
And
of had forgotten that we had played the Get Around, for instance. And I was like, wow, we got Get Around out of our ass. We could play it, but we actually had demoed it too, which is
you know what? Yeah, I'd first sort of forgotten that we played it as consistently as we did, but it's a great song, right? And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
I think like, I mean, ultimately, Ratboy, when we changed the lyrics to what she says to what she wants, because I don't remember sort of like, because Francois' lyrics and Motorcycle Boy, they're very Francois, right? It's like,
yeah.
really his trip. But on a couple of those ones, like She Says and Get Around, actually, even though they're so like such Francois swagger, I kind of like those words. So I wasn't in a big
They
rush,
fit
but
you as well.
you insisted that we'd change the words if we're going to play it, and it made sense. It was a good thing that we did, actually. I think, because we really defined it as our version, and personally, I prefer our What She Wants to the She Says on
Oh,
Popsicle.
and after listening to Get Around, I also think that that was pretty decent. Actually, for me, to be honest, I thought that Pillbox was a step up from Motorcycle Boy. It was just that's what I wanted to do. I never wanted to have two guitars. I never wanted to have a bass player singer. It's just what happened. I always my ideal band was something like Pillbox. That's what I wanted to do. When I saw you sing with 39 Steps, I knew that was it.
Right.
But that's the idea of a rock band for me. Is this.
How did
Yeah.
you guys hook up, actually? Because that's still a mystery to me. Brad, when was the first time that you saw Chris? Do you remember?
We had
I
a
remember
common friend, right? The guy at the store. What was it? What's his
Cliff.
name?
Cliff,
Cliff. Yeah, yeah.
where I
We
used
met
to,
at the
yeah, I go off sometimes. Yeah.
we met at some used clothing store. This guy knew both of us, and he introduced us. And Chris was playing. I went to see him at CBGB's or something, right?
Right, that's it. Yeah, we
39 Step, and that was
yeah,
it. I was like, this is the guy. This is who I need. But he was in a band, so
Why
yeah,
did you
well,
think
yeah,
that, Rat Boy?
that
What did he
was
have about him
back
though?
in the day.
what did he have?
Mm,
He had everything. He had the voice. He could sing. He could move. We had the same influences, and we could talk and connect instantly. It was just I came from
Yeah,
LA, and LA was just like all kind of metal, and that's why Crystal to me was super LA, right? And
yeah.
this is exactly what I did not want. So I didn't
The
come to New
long,
York
he
to
had
get a guy
extra
who's
Mexican
yeah,
hair.
long hair, and like it could have been in Enough's Enough or something. Good
Yeah,
bass player, but it was just not. I don't know. The idea of the band that I wanted was something like that, like
It
some
was
kind of
also the
the
zeitgeist of
new
the time.
Church Stooges, like four-piece thing, a singer that shakes his ass, and me who plays riffs, and a drummer who plays like straight.
well, that was, that was the thing, because you and I are like, we're totally on the same level. I mean,
It was obvious from day one, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Which to me was really refreshing because all my other bands, I was for starters, I was writing a lot of the music for those other bands too, and it's like that's not really my thing, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, someone's got to do it, so I'll do it. But I was always with those guys sort of like, oh, do something like Gotta Get Away by the Blues Magoos or something, And they say, what? I have no idea. But rap would know it as well. Maybe not Gotta Get Away by the Blues Magoos, but things like that, Ratboy would know it, would know. And so
Resident Evil
we
touch.
both understood. We both understood what was fucking lame and what was fucking lame with
Yeah.
everything, you know? So it was like, okay, it's simpatico. But, I wasn't really jumping up and down to go to move back down to New York and have like sleep on couches, etc., for this band that putting up flyers on St. Mark's Place and stuff like that. It's like I'd kind of done all that, like with the 222s when I was 16, so it's
Mm.
like to do another band with uh music that we knew wasn't would be particularly popular. It was sort of like, But I mean, at the same time, Ratboy was fantastic. So it was like, okay, and we were doing good stuff, And it's
What
like,
was
okay,
funny is like at one
goes.
point, I even auditioned for 39 Steps,
Mhm.
remember?
Yes, I remember
And
well.
I
I
was
remember.
not, I felt the same way as what you just described. That was not for me. I could play with these guys. It's just like,
Oh no, no, and it's way better that we start. But that's you, Ratboy. I mean, you were definitely the catalyst for all that because I was, yeah, like. The best thing I could have done at that time was split up 39 Steps and then start playing together with you and do
mhm.
something fresh, something new. Even if it was like really starting from fucking beginning, and I'd
Yeah, yeah,
been,
yeah.
done all that national tours and all that stuff. So it was like, but anyways, we did what we did. And here we are.
I think that's
But
one of the things that when we were writing these liner notes for this, I was thinking a lot about what the beginning of the band, we were all at different times in our lives. I had just moved from Europe. I needed to do something fast and to make it work. You were ahead of me. You had already like releases and done stuff, done tour. For me, it was all brand new. I had the Motorcycle Boys thing. It was doing okay, but when he started doing drugs and fucking up, and the album was not coming out, I was just like, I can't wait. I can't hang. So that's why I moved really quickly. And just like you, the pillbox thing didn't happen like it should have. But it's clear that we were not. That's why it's good because it was timeless, right? But it was not what
well,
people wanted in '93 for
no,
sure.
no, definitely not. And it's funny because just a couple of years later, there was a bit more of an opening of it in the, idiotic uh mind of the music industry. Oh,
It's
sure. No, we, as always, we're on the same page with that. But I don't know that I think I've at least told you since we've been corresponding over the past few months, that American Records found me, dug me up in Montreal, and found me and saying, "Hey, we've got this record. It's a great record. What are you guys doing?" I'm saying, "Well, not much." I'm not playing in the band. And I got another call from A&M because the producer that I knew, I just, "Yeah, here's a new record." And then several months later, like it made its way around A&M's offices and they were all excited too. And it's like, had it been 39 Steps or a different band, I would have said, yeah, the band is coming together. Yeah, yeah. You can come see us live next week. Okay, get a bunch of guys together, play the material, off you go. But couldn't do that with Pillbox, like it was like, no, it's Pillbox is, it's that band. It's Ratboy, it's Joe, it's that thing. It's like it's not me, I mean, I'm a part of it, but it's not, I wouldn't make that record alone. You know what I mean? It was really, well, Ratboy
But
was
to be honest, I don't think it would have worked anyway because I had these kind of labels quoting us with Motorcycle Boy, and the minute they see how you are, I just run away because it's just not. We were never a product. I mean, I know it clearly now. At the
yeah.
time, I naively thought that maybe we could get signed and do shit, but we would have never played.
That point.
But
What
Pillbox
do you,
could have never been a job. It was just something I mean, that's why the album is good because We did whatever we wanted, however we wanted it, and it's
It's
honest.
well, it's like that question I asked you guys about. Did anyone ever think about warming up before a gig? And you guys were like, no, like that wasn't our MO. You know, it was like well, you got what you got.
I mean,
like,
I remember we were more like talking about the rock costume. Chris would borrow some of my clothes or whatever. We were more interested in looking cool than fucking singing, right?
There's
Yeah, that's just
a real asymmetry in those live clips actually, because there's Chris and Rat, who are sort of like the dark twins. There's this definite, like, the pillbox energy is coming off you guys. I see myself playing in the back, and I'm the only guy who's smiling most of the time. And then we've got then there's like the unknown bass player kind of a thing. So it's like there was a strange energy about it. It was really kind of a weird.
Joe, how did you originally join Pillbox?
I want to hear
How did I
that
join?
story because it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
You came from a
I
band
don't
called
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Contusions.
I was playing in a rock outfit called the Contusions at the time, with my friend Mike D, who still plays today in a band called the Idolizers. He's still out there doing his thing. Anyway, I'm in
Nice
this
guy.
band with Mike, and it's two guitars, one bass, and the drummer. And there's three writers in the band. The two guitarists and the bass player, they all write. One of the fellows in this band, I guess that Mike brought in, was this young guy named Tim, who's since passed on. But Tim, young guy, energetic guy, good-looking guy, brought in these songs for us to play. And out of all the songs that we were playing, I thought these songs were great. We brought in songs like I Get Around, songs like Honolulu Baby, and some other song he had, this song called Tied Up, that used this riff that I thought was just the most amazing riff I'd ever heard. It's like kind of like this descending thing. And so we played this out a couple of times. And at some point, after we played it out, maybe like 2 or 3 times, Tim came to the band and said, look, guys, we had to stop playing this music. And I was like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, you know, I didn't write it. I was like, what do you mean you didn't write it? Like, where did you get it from? He said, I've been roadieing for a band called Motorcycle Boy. And actually, as it turns out, these songs are owned by a guy named Ratboy. He wrote this stuff. I was like, oh shit. He says, and he's told us to cut it out, basically. I was like, okay. So we had to cut that out of the set. Anyway, at that point, I said to myself, I have to find Ratboy. I was like, who is this Ratboy guy? Like, if he's writing this material, I love this material. This is fantastic. So I tracked you down at that point. Luckily, you were in New York, and I think I saw you play at a couple of shows or something. I think you were in TVI at the time, I think, when I tracked you down.
Probably that first TVI show.
I think it was at I think I saw you guys at the bank.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the first.
And I showed up at that and tried to court you from that moment. I said, you know, I've got to be your drummer. You know, this is the music I really wanted to play. And sort of, I don't remember how exactly I auditioned for Pillbox. I don't remember how that worked out. Because you had Mike. Mike was a good, you know, in my opinion, Mike was quite a good drummer, actually. Very laid back. Maybe not the energy we're looking for, but a good player.
Well, I think Ratboy was. Sorry, Joe. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. But when that sort of disintegrated, that somehow I was integrated into audition with you guys, and then I was, you know, I had realized my dream at that point.
And you knew the material already.
Yeah.
Aim high, Joe. Aim high.
Let's play Get Around. I was like, sure. All right, I'm ready.
Is it tied up or what?
I remember seeing you playing with Contusions. I guess Ratboy brought me down to check you out. I remember thinking, yeah, you know, this guy. But I mean, because Mike, you know, Mike was not a bad drummer. He was okay and a super nice guy, you know. And I slept in his couch for fucking, you know, a lot. Because I was and he was a nice guy, and he knew music too, right? Like, you know, you could talk about you could talk about Sinatra as well as talk about the Dead Boys or something, you know. And he was an inventive drummer, but he just was, as you're saying, he's just laid back. And as a singer, right? You know, especially you're performing, you're sort of just kind of riding the music, right? Like, you know, you hear all this fucking commotion and you sort of like internalize it and you express it vocally and physically, you know? And I'd found with Mike, I was always the music didn't like pick me up and throw me into the air. I don't know how I find that's the greatest analogy, but, it you know, when you came in, it's like, yeah, okay, that's good and solid and we can sit on that. And this you know, this we can take to the big leagues.
The people, we take it to the people, right? It was a different energy. It brought sort of a different energy for you guys. But yeah, we were playing Ratboy music before I even knew who Ratboy was. So it's a funny story.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I remember this now, like that. Yeah.
You know
I
what? The weirdest
you-
thing is that Tim actually wanted me to see this band, and I went to see you guys. That's when I saw you, and he came and he said, "What do you think?" And I didn't know what to say. Like 4 or 5 songs were mine, and I didn't know what the fuck what he's thinking.
You ripped off my material. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know, it's like really weird. It's really naive to invite me to see this, right? He wanted to have my approval or something, but we were still. I mean, I was still playing these songs.
Funny, eh? Because the record, that record wasn't out. Like that was one of the reasons why we're doing Get
No, but
Get
Tim
Around.
had been hired when we first came to play New York with Motorcycle Boy. We had the same manager as LA Guns, and he hooked up a bunch of people for us. And Tim was one of the roadies. So I landed here in New York, and then he was there, and he carried my shit. He saw me play every night, and he even bought one of my guitars at one point. So he was playing the shit on my guitar, which was really funny.
He picked up a lot of stuff from you. I miss seeing Motorcycle Boy, I think at Spodiotes on the west side of Manhattan by like, I think I could swear that the band, I was playing in like a soul metal rock outfit before the Contusions. And we had a gig at Spodie's opening. And I could swear that you guys were on the same bill. And I don't know if it's apocryphal, but isn't that, I don't know if that was the night that you quit the band. Was that here or was that in LA where you quit that band?
The Spodiotes when Johnny Thunders played instead of us?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That was, Yeah, because Francois wanted to play only one song, and we fought on stage. He broke his bass. It was a great show for the people who watched it. And then I quit the band that first time, yeah.
That was
the people were really happy because everybody was backstage. Johnny Thunders was backstage, people from Circus of Power, the Cycle Sluts. Right. And then he proposed. He said, "Oh, do you want me to go play?" We would play. I was like, "Fuck this." I quit. And so he played. So they got Johnny Thunders instead of Motorcycle Boy. So I think they were really happy. He wanted to play my guitar, but I wanted to keep it. So I said no.
Exactly.
Right. He would have pawned it after, and that would be the last time I saw my guitar.
I was speaking of Johnny Thunder stories, which of course there's many of them, and there were even more of them floating around back then. But I always think of him stealing the chicken. I think you told me, I wasn't there. I think you told me, Joe, that they at one point they were serving food at Continental. I just can imagine. And they had their dressing room, I guess, because of Johnny Thunders, he gets the dressing room, which might have been downstairs or whatever. Anyways, he stole a chicken, like a raw chicken from and he used to wear a big raincoat in the 80s, and so he had the chicken hidden behind him. I think Trigger called him out on it, and the chicken boom fell onto Fort that.
What's that? Yeah, it was another time, right?
Yeah. Although, I was, not like we were best buddies or anything, but he was always very polite and nice to me. I think he thought he knew me better than we did. Because whatever. And I was still like, oh, Johnny Thunders, it's Johnny Thunders, I remember when I went to buy my first guitar, I went to the used record store, and it was, hippies. This is like 1975, maybe 74, and say, well, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything about distortion pedals or whatever. Just like, I want something that sounded like Johnny Thunders. And the guy looked at me like, what? Who? What? Fuck? So yeah, sell me a guitar for like under $70 that will make me sound like Johnny Thunders. Took me a while to figure, I see amps are important with this, but anyway.
Continental was an important part of that scene at that point, actually. Well, because it was Continental Divide before it was Continental, right? But that was like it was an oasis, I felt, amongst all the other kind of like pay-to-play metal clubs that were endemic around that. We were talking about, who's that, Nicky Camp and stuff like that. There's kind of promoters doing these hair metal.
For me, coming from LA, it was heaven. You had Sylvain, you have Walter, you have everybody. I like the Senders.
Peter Chrome showing up with these things, right? He did those nights over at Continental and stuff. So
it was amazing because in New York we had Jane County, like we had just metal shit. We had like Guns N' Roses. There was some decent stuff, but nothing I really liked.
Right.
Yeah. No, it was a dark period for like
Yeah, I
rock,
think so.
especially
It
when
was a
you
dark
were
period. Nothing
was
but
what
Guns
not.
N' Roses clone bands and stuff like that. Actually,
I mean, I got there in '88. It was already the end of the Guns N' Roses thing, so everybody was trying to be the next Guns N' Roses. So it was
Yeah,
not
right.
really creative, right? The only band that was worth anything was the Nymphs, which were amazing. The Hangman, the Sea Hags, but they were from San Francisco. There was a few bands that were close to us, but most
Yeah.
of them. And it's funny, there was already a grunge, that the roots of grunge, bands like L7, they used to open for Motorcycle Boy, and we were just like, we didn't think much of it. But then one day they asked us to open for them. We're like, no fucking way, open for L7. And they were signed on Sub Pop, and they were huge. We had totally missed the train. It was really funny, actually.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. Ingrid died, I think just like a year ago or something. Ingrid
Sorry?
from the Ingrid died recently from the
Yes.
Inger,
Nymphs.
yeah, Inger just passed away.
Ingrid.
Yeah, she passed away last.
Couple years ago. We actually, Joe and I had a tryout. We tried to play with her. We had a one rehearsal. I have the tape. I should play it, man.
It was more than I think we did 2 rehearsals with her actually
Really?
over at Anthony's place. Yeah, and what we
Yeah,
did
I had
though was
Anthony's, but
we set a
it was
line down
called
on the stage.
Invisible.
If you show up and if you're a little too crazy, like we're gonna have to call it quits. And she showed up and she was a little too crazy. And then you said to me, Joe, you have to go and talk to her. Tell her what's going on. Somehow I was always the messenger for these things. She
Yeah,
talked me into
I
the
can always
messenger.
count on
Yeah,
you.
I can
Right.
see that. Yes.
So I have to go and explain to Inger why we're not continuing with this thing, which was an experience in itself. But whatever, you know. But it didn't. Yeah, she was amazingly talented.
Yeah, really, really.
Another one,
Yeah.
the singing, just her singing ability was just completely off the charts. But her personality made it very difficult to work from a commercial point of view, or even just from a regular routine
Just
practice.
to get your shit going.
Just being in the room. But she was amazingly talented. It's sad actually that she wasn't able to continue on in some way with what she was doing.
Right.
One of these bands that had only one record, but this record just made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What the Nymphs record was on Geffen, I think.
Yeah.
It's a big.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that this record came out the same fucking week as Nirvana. And so, as you know, what the labels do, and they just throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. And of course, Nirvana stuck, and that was it. That's why she peed on the desk of the guy, whatever.
Yeah.
She was so pissed. But I totally understand because they were a big prospect at the time. I mean, when they got signed, it was a huge deal. And in LA, they were huge. And people really, I mean, that music is really outstanding. But that was it. After Smell Like Teen Spirit, that was it. They didn't do shit for them. I mean, a lot of bands, it happened like that. That's why I said, even if American or A&M would have even looked at us or sink like a few $1,000 on us, they would have never, ever done anything with us. Because I mean, we wouldn't have played the game. I know, I didn't play the game. I told so many people to get lost in LA. Now I know. I thought they would come back on their knees. No, it's just not the way it goes.
That's okay. Yeah.
Were Blackheart interested in Pillbox at all, or no? Because of 39 Steps.
You know what? I mean, Blackheart wasn't really that active of a label. Like the only reason why John put out that the 39 Steps album, oh, it's actually, it's a long story, but basically Joan just, that record was there and it's like there was nothing going out with it. It sort of had to come out for legal reasons. I won't go into it. And so it's just, we'll just put it out on Blackheart. So that was it. So they weren't really actively recruiting bands or anything like that. And also, I just spent a lot of, a couple of years in that milieu, the Blackheart Records world. And, I could do with a break from that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They were sort of supporting us in somewhat though, right? Because we picked up Iosa through Blackheart, no? Didn't he sort of...
and him and I were really close. We were like good friends, right? Like, I mean, and he and I even worked at that studio for a little while.
Right.
Basically, it was just sort of charity. Here, Chris, here's your $6 an hour or whatever, and and hang out at the studio. If you got to get tape, go buy tape, and just charm people. What a perfect job for me. But I also swung that for me. And I done, a number, maybe not a full album, but a lot of recordings with him with 39 Steps. Um, so we were pretty close, and so that's how we got into the studio basically. But
Right.
John,
Right.
John was John was another guy. He got it, right? Like
Mm.
he got it. So like I know when we went in, he when we recorded with him, he was like found it really refreshing. Like even telling me, it's like, oh, this is fucking, great rock and roll, man. It's spirit, all the things that you would want from a record. And John was astute enough to recognize that. Um, but he was, yeah, he was basically just an engineer at that time. He produced some stuff. I don't even know if he produced any of Jones stuff. I
What
know that
happened to him?
he died not that quite a while ago. He was like in his 30s. He had a heart attack or something, and kabang.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah,
Great guy, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
I
I
was
mean, and it's devastating to the black. I'm still in touch with some of those people, and it was devastating. Like because he was a lovely guy, right? I don't know how well you guys remember him, but he
No, I
was a lovely guy
remember him as
recording
fondly.
us up there at 4 in the morning, like after working all day, so we could
right.
bang out our demo, which ended up being our record, really. Or most of the Clown Room was recorded that way. The other
Yeah.
ones, like I think, yeah, at least 6 of the songs were recorded in one night,
I just
right?
remember the folks in Blackheart, I think, supporting you in the way that they could because they recognized your talent and they were trying to give you as much support to try to see you develop some new project basically at that time, right? So they were trying to give you.
No, 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 Joe. No, I was on my fucking own. It's like,
All
I
right.
no, I was in the wilderness at that point. I mean, yeah, no,
You had ship. You still had ship
I
at that
couldn't.
point, right?
They
You were still
tried
dealing with ship.
hard to sell me. They could never fucking sell me. Like, all the labels and stuff would be close. And it was a kind of music because it wasn't exactly what everybody else was doing. You kind of at
Right.
that time needed a label behind you to turn around and say, hey, this is something different. And even if it's not that
Right.
different.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so no, no, I was no, when we were doing
It wasn't. It
Pillbox, I was
wasn't. It wasn't a
totally on my
commitment
own,
thing.
and no, I mean nobody, yeah, it was like good luck. That was basically.
Although we still had ship. You still had ship at that point, right? As your manager,
Well,
you were.
yeah, but the ship was like when Pillbot said, it wasn't until later it was that ship, wanted to get involved. I mean, they were supporting, oh great, got a new band, I'll go see ya. Oh, it's a good band, that kind of thing. But it wasn't like okay guys, let's go to the toppermost or the poppermost with this, it was just sort of like,
Right.
oh, you got your band, good. And he was busy with other bands that were selling, right? He was managing the Psycho Sluts and Boot Sauce and stuff like that.
It
So
was
Right.
Boots Hosting, yeah.
no, and
Where
and
is my
also
man?
with Diner, it's
Where is
like,
my man? Where's our organization? Our organization that put us here. Where is my man?
yeah,
What are
right,
we doing?
right. Well, that is true. That is true. I mean, obviously it's about heroin as well, and that sort of stuff. But I mean, when that was true. That's where the first lines came from. Where is my man when I need him most? You know, sleeping on fucking couches if I'm lucky, and on First Street. Uh,
Because we're talking
no,
about
and everyone else that I'd worked with, they all had record deals or were doing well as video directors or record producers or whatever. And little old me, the catalyst for all these other fucking people's career, is like, well, you're that's how it goes. So what are you gonna do now? I don't know. I'm fucking 30 years old, never did anything but play rock and roll. It was a difficult situation.
how much of this material was written in the studio, or did you bring material in from 39
I
Steps, or did you
mean,
have any left over?
I th-
Obviously, you did.
we I think we used to sit around with guitars and just fucking around, right? It's like most of it riff.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few of them, like a few of the early ones, like the songs basically down, like Sinister Urge, Nowhereland were two that I remember that
Yeah.
the first songs you played me. Um, and so that was the best route. Like, Ratboy would have a riff, and then we would maybe structure it together, maybe I'd say I do this or do that, and vice versa. But I, like a lot of the time, you know, like a sort of like phrasing, like you would play something like Sinister Urge, let's say, and so, well, what are you thinking? What are you hearing vocal? So there's a lot, and then there are tapes somewhere back going boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so okay, he's thinking something like that. Yeah, okay, that works. And then I would, like, work on the melody and write lyrics and all that stuff. And that, but it depended on the song. Like something like Holly, no. I remember that clearly. Get Hip, things like that. But some of those, particularly the early ones, um, yeah, like Sinister Urge and Nowhere Land are the ones that are coming to mind now. Come Up
I would like
Heroin.
to say that at that time I wrote a lot of stuff I studied on the bass actually. You could tell, like
Yeah.
Sinister Urge,
Yeah.
Come Up Heroin. It's on purpose. I was trying to avoid writing guitar riffs, start on the bass, and then the guitar riff would come, and then you have this really kind of it's like a
Yeah.
puzzle, and it just really moved together. And I think it works really well.
It
It's
does.
much easier to start with the bass and add it. It's easy to find a guitar riff on top of a bass line, but it's harder to find a cool bass line when you have like a riff that already fills up everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I know a lot of these songs, I'm listening to them and I just go, wow, the bass lines are really good, actually, I think.
But it's got a quality
Only
to
we
it.
had a bass player to play them.
So,
That was the
Yeah,
so to
well,
answer your
you don't
question, no,
really need
nothing
one.
was written in the studio. Everything,
why.
the only thing that might have
Why?
been written in the studio, like that moment, was like, shit, I gotta have a lyric here. Okay, we'll use this one,
Yeah,
But no, we didn't have that luxury. Well, I mean, basically, most of the songs were written in your apartment on 11th Street in C.
yeah.
Chris,
And
Chris,
then
Chris,
and then lyrics I would write on my own, um, but most of it was, yeah, it was written like that. And then we, I mean, everything was fucking expensive, right? Just want to rehearse. It's like, oh yeah, we like,
well,
I
it's
got a
And
funny.
call.
talking about
Everything.
expensive, I was amazed listening to the demos, actually how good they were for how they were made. Because
Do you
I'm a big
remember?
fan of like 60s records that were recorded, like jazz records that were recorded in a rehearsal room or studio with just two mics. And we
Yeah,
actually recorded the band like that. And then you would sing and I would add one guitar or something. But it has
yeah,
that organic feel of like a rehearsal space. And
You were
even
yeah,
though
you were the master. You were the master of the Tascam 4-track. Actually,
yeah,
you
I
were
mean, even if it
way
was 4 track and I had like a couple of microphones, actually, I think that the quality of that it's really organic. And
yeah.
I don't know,
No, I
it's
like
weird. I thought it was shit. I thought it was just demos then, but it's much more than that, I think.
Yeah. No, I like those. I remember at the time liking them, thinking, like, these sound great. I still do. I listen to them now. And yeah, I mean, I think some of my vocals are actually better on the demos.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny
but
too. It has a cheesy element that is really cool, I think. How we I
that
don't know, we recorded probably in my toilet or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
I remember perfectly. I was underneath your loft bed
Yeah.
yeah.
there, and like, you would be the engineer, and I had the vocal, and I kind of remember feeling I couldn't bark too loud
Yeah,
into
because
it.
my neighbor was he hated
Yeah,
me, and so yeah, we couldn't do it loud.
yeah. It was all like in the afternoon. It was always like afternoons. We didn't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
yeah, but I remember that clearly, and I sort of remember barking into a shitty mic, but I guess not. It was probably a decent, like an F
I don't think it was good.
57.
I think it was probably shit, but it adds to the whole thing. It's really it really it's organic and it has something going on. I was really surprised, and they all sound very similar in a way. There's really a shtick.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
cohesion, a real cohesion to it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
weird.
a functional unit. It's a little
When I was
surprising,
doing
actually.
it, I thought it was just like a draft or something. Not no value other than for us.
yeah. Right.
Well,
No, for sure.
I know that you're all very proud of this album, and what is it about it? I mean, what is the magic? Do you think? Can you pinpoint it? I mean, the longevity. It's gone down, and it is a classic amongst so many music fans. Can you
You know,
actually? A good question is, when you were recording it, were you aware that there was some kind of
no,
chemistry
no.
No,
or
I
something?
mean, we
No.
knew we had a good record after
Mm.
we'd finished it.
I know we were doing the right
I remember
thing.
listening to Your Place, Ratboy, in the same underneath the loft bed. Like, we first got it back from the studio, the mixes. Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry,
You
it
guys,
is what it is.
you between the two of you, you wrote something that's really kind of incredibly cohesive, both musically and image-wise and lyrically. And I mean, the way I remember it, we sort of recorded this thing sort of piecemeal. You know, it all came in pieces. We recorded like, was it like the first two tracks, like at it
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Iota,
With a single, right?
the single, and then
Yeah.
later on, and then as the songs came together, I think we recorded a bunch of other stuff like subsequently. But like the Clown Room itself is such a cohesive, a creative work. And you know, we're 30 years out from the birth of this thing, and 30 years out from actually putting it together. And I'm really, Chris, I haven't spoken to you for a long time, and I'm really curious to know what's your reaction on looking at it again 30 years on. Uh, what were you, did you intend to write something as cohesive as this? All these little vignettes, you know, that sort of
I
come
think
together.
so. I think so.
Was
Yeah.
that the concept, or was that serendipitous? Like,
No, Sarah,
it's
no, I
sort of
think
a
sort of.
mystery.
But you know, I mean, you know, the lower East Village at that time was a thing, right? And you
Right.
know, and I mean, think of all the people that we knew, you know, like Angie and Bobby from Bobby Shaking Again.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
and you know, and everybody was strung out on dope. It's just not everybody, but you know, just the whole thing. It
Mm.
was pretty. It was a pretty
It was the
fucked up
time.
thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, and so that makes me happy too, because maybe it's just me, because, you know, it's my experience in that sense. But when it really makes, to me, that record stinks of the East Village in the late 80s, early 90s. You know, when it was
Yeah.
dangerous to, you know, when Ratboy, you had to walk back from Venus Records taking 10th Street, not 11,
Right.
because that
No,
block between,
You
you
get
know,
mugged in that block. Right. Right. Right.
was, you know, was dangerous, you know, especially on payday. I use that example a lot. When people say, "Oh, it's
But
New
when you,
York
I mean,
like back in the day," I said, "Well, you know, but I thought I loved it, as you know,
yeah, no, it's definitely a postcard of a time that is gone.
I
Mhm.
think so, yeah. And I mean, again, to me, I like, you know, so I'm glad that there was, you know, lyrically, there was so much to draw upon, right? There was just so much going on. It's like, well, okay, well, this is our experience at this time. So let's try and capture that in the lyrics, you know? Like it wasn't, you know, it wasn't sort of like now, you know, I'm writing a new album now, right? And I'm like, you know, fine-tuning the lyrics. I finally fucking written most of them. And it's like, you know, well, what am I gonna write about? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
right.
it's, you know, you can only get so many fucking drug lyrics in there before it's just like, all right, do you know anything else besides fucking taking drugs, you know, and complaining about it? Yeah. So you know, but back at that time there was just tons of characters and stuff. And it was a sound, you know. I mean, I think the reason at least where Ratboy and I were in New York at that time is because that was kind of like where, you know, a lot of the culture of the vibe that we went for musically, sort of a lot of it came from New York, you know. So it was part of that kind of tradition, I guess. I don't know.
uh-huh.
Right. Right.
So what we
If you
bar
had if you had to define like or like describe like the different headspaces you're in, say like when you're writing for 39 Steps and when you're writing for Pillbox, like what's is it just location? Are you just taking inspiration from the environment? Like how does that work for you?
no, a bit
I mean,
of
as a
both.
writer, because you're a developed, you're clearly a very well developed writer. You know, you've written some stuff here that's actually it's really it's top shelf. But I mean,
The lyrics, you think? Because
what's your process basically is my question. Like how do you do it?
oh, I don't know. Um, I don't know. But you know, at the time I didn't think the lyrics on that record were particularly great. I knew there was a few lines here and there. So, oh, that's a good line. Like I like the, you know, did the street open up? Did you fall in? I like that
Yeah, this is
line.
really good.
You know, but you never think they're really that particularly good. And a million years later you go back and hear it and go, okay, that's great. You know, this sums up. I can smell fucking Avenue A on this record. You know, I can smell maybe not the Wawa Hut, and that's a good thing because that would be it would smell more like
You don't want to smell that.
you know. But you know, that's the other thing too, you know, it's like we, you know, like when you look back and then we think about uh the historical context like grunge and all that stuff, and like
Right.
that was kind of true later, but you know,
Right.
when we formed, it was fucking pop metal. It was Poison and like, you know, and I remember being so disappointed, you know, when I, you know, down there, it's like these shitty New York bands like Pistol Dawn and bands trying to be like Bon Jovi or whatever. It was like the only sort of seemed like just our little fucking scene, Continental and Brownies and stuff like that were sort of steeped in the tradition. The other one's just of you know, great New York music, you know.
It was
I
a
don't know.
Guns N'
I
Roses
don't know
hangover.
location. And most of those lyrics were actually written. Many of them were written in New York, but a lot of them were written in Montreal too. And it was,
Oh,
you know, because back and forth at first, right? So,
right.
you know, especially when I listen to the demos, you go, "Oh yeah, right. That's about fucking working as a delivery boy," you know, stuff like that too. So, and it wasn't a great period for me, you know, in life, really, you know.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
so. So that a lot of it sort of reflects that, but I'm glad it did, you know, and of course, listening to the demos and all that stuff again for after, you know, decades, it's sort of like, it sort of brings that home. So, you know, I feel kind of like, okay, that's good. You know, that was a good effort. But, you know, since we're complimenting one another, Joe, I mean, your playing is fucking great. I mean, I knew you were good at the time. I knew you were good at the time, and I could tell the difference between Mike D, who was okay too, you know. But I mean, you know, he didn't have the consistency and the power. But when I, you know, it's sort of like, you know, like the Partridge Family when it all really came together when Mom sang along. It's like it really came together when you came on. I
I'm glad
felt
you guys feel
I had already done
just
a
for,
lot of writing and all that stuff, but it was sort of like, to me at least, it was like, look at that drummer. I can just sit and I know the meter's gonna be pretty close. If it speeds up, that's because we want it to, you know, just the but and consistently. So yeah, so that's it.
I do play ahead of the
I think
beat.
you deserve a lot of
I'm always
credit there.
rushing. I still rush to this day. Actually, I think Rat enjoys that a little bit though. So
What, that you
What's
rush?
right?
yeah, my
Huh?
always a little ahead of the beat there. I really
Yeah,
can't
because
really.
I'm ahead of the beat too. So to me, it was perfect. I mean, it's really what gives you this the feel, like something like Holly, or it's just push and
Yeah.
pull kind of thing. I really like that.
The thing I
But
remember most clearly about this was that we had a sort of a revolving door of bass players, right?
That's the thing. I think once we got you, then the missing piece was the bass player. I mean, there was the
This is
three of us, and then
we had like
and
4 different bass players in the time that I was in the band, and the thing was there
yeah,
was never the opportunity to try to develop an actual rhythm section relationship.
yeah.
Try to I was always playing off of, so I didn't have like a, although you crafted fantastic bass lines, I felt I was always playing off of your guitar, your rhythm guitar work.
yeah,
But I wrote
uh
the bass lines anyway, so it's like the bass lines came from the same kind of place, right?
yeah,
right
yeah.
right but it's sort of a different way to work. So when I think of, but there's something about your rhythm guitar playing or just your riff playing in general that I always very keyed into very keenly.
Mm.
I always find it very exciting. It always really, you know, makes me very happy
That's
about playing.
because half the time we didn't have bass players that could fucking play bass by numbers like Johnny Baum and stuff. And Christoph, I thought I had remembered him being a better bass player, like a
Yeah,
musician.
it's funny when I
And
watched the
Well,
yeah,
this
scrap
this
bar,
Christo, this
I was
this
like, yeah,
Christo,
he's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, he's okay. He's okay. But Christo was by far the best like bassist. Like I lay on the demos. It's
Yeah,
like you're hearing like, you know, because I mean, like you did a lot of the bass on those things, Rat, right?
yeah, I know. But
All the
this,
like, you know, we did the first, I think, 5 songs. We like, you know, as a band with Christo and stuff, and then it was filling in like Joe, like with Nowhereland. That you should get an award right fucking there for you know, you went into the studio alone. Do you
yeah,
remember about in
I
your
don't
fucking
remember.
1966 Dart, I believe, and
Yeah, we
uh
had one.
and you just
Yes.
said, "Well, I know the song," and you fucking sing. And then Ratboy and I came in later to do the, you know, finish it basically, which we did in like 2 seconds. Like Ratboy
yeah.
did the guitar, and then did the
That was
bass over that
the
thing, and I
necessity
barked right there. Huh?
the necessity of the way we were working at the time. Actually, I remember being excited working with Steve Mack for the tour because Steve was a seasoned bass player, you know, and
Yeah,
also
yeah,
he'd done all the shows at like Hammer Jackson from the Baltimore area and stuff like that. So it was an opportunity to actually get to play with a
with a real bass player,
and try to develop a relationship, you know, rhythm wise, if anything.
But
so,
I think one of the reasons the clown room is really tight is that I play really well with myself.
Yes.
So it was, I play off myself really well. So it was
knew
really
what sound you were going for. Yes, you knew what you wanted to hear out of that.
And I knew exactly what you played and what the guitar was. So in the end, it really worked out. It's really tight. I mean, that record is tight as fuck, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it sits perfectly.
I think what it is about it is when it came out, it's pretty unique. I mean, nothing else from that time sounds like that. It's really, I don't know. It's just the timing.
But on it's also a product of its time in a way too, isn't it? In a way, like it is a product of the 90s in a way. It does fit into sort of a zeitgeist of some of the other things that were happening. Although I think that PILLBOX takes it to another level, refines it somewhat, and brings it into like a completely different avenue. In that way, it's very unique. But I think it is more a product of its. I don't know if that same record could be made today. Actually, I don't know if you'd make the same record.
No, and that's the things that I think, as I was saying earlier, like to me, it just stinks of these Village from that period, early 90s, late 80s. I mean,
it permeated with those influences. Yeah, completely. Right. And those images and the impressions you had from that time.
Yeah, but I think it's a classic because it doesn't sound like the other shit, you know, like there's not so much stuff. If you listen to the music from that time, it's all overproduced. It has like tons of reverb, echo and stuff. I can understand why American might have liked it because it's really kind of raw, in your face, simple, you know, like I'm not going to compare it to the Cult, but like Electric or something like that. It sounds like this type of thing where it's just guitar, drums. And a lot of shit from that time is overproduced. You listen to it now and it sounds really dated because of the way.
Even if we'd had the luxury, we wouldn't have done that. Like even if we had like studio time to actually sit there or add like, let's see how horns are going to sound on this or whatever. We wouldn't have, you know. But so this was the sound. This is what we chased. But I remember Ratboy, you thinking at the time that it might be too slick, like too clean. I remember that, like
maybe.
doing like even more lo-fi record. And
like I remember the drums being really kind of like, I don't know, compressed or something, which sounds really, really powerful.
90s sound to them. It's a dated sound.
Yes, right. Like, well, your drums and all the live recordings, Joe, are sort of the boom, 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 like the real like sort of 90s sound that they gave, right? Like, I like a certain, just I don't know, whatever. Maybe I just, I don't know. Well, I know we felt we had a pretty. I remember feeling we had a pretty good band, and it's like a band that, like, whether people liked us or not when we played, it's like, well, what do you fucking know? So you walk on there like, no insecurities about it whatsoever. It's just like, this is a cool band. If you don't get it, well, you don't get it. But I mean, we know what we're doing, and and we know we're not stupid. Ratboy and I and Joe, as well. We've, I remember Ratboy used to make jokes about, these grunge bands like Pearl Jam and stuff, and saying the roots go as deep as like Bad Company. They didn't fucking know. It's like for us, we're like, sort of. I mean, not well, Ratboy, like almost like music historians. We know a lot of shit, and so and that's what we put into this, with our own thing, with our respective abilities, and so I always feel that it's a very honest record. But they all should be. Every record should be an honest record. But it's just like, okay, we felt strongly about what we were doing, the direction we were going in. I think maybe like, I don't know, these songs are any good, but we know what we're trying to do, and it was like, and yeah, it was sort of in your face. Fuck you. I remember doing interviews and we were trying to find a hook, and our hook was grunge stinks. This is the real rock and roll. Those guys, but it didn't really catch.
So how are the
didn't
larger
really
crowds?
Catch on. They said, okay, yeah, forget Nirvana. They got fucking PILLBOX there.
How are
the larger crowd,
say with the Ramones, in '93? How were they reacting to this material?
Very well. The Ramones,
Oh.
they were really well. And I've, still see people say, "Hey, I saw you, at wherever it was, Metropolis with Ramones or whatever." It
Do
was
you remember,
great.
do you
And
remember when we
we
played?
were, we had Johnny Baum on bass then. And he was like sort of a weak, and we were just sort of like, well, you got a little rumble there, boom, boom, boom. You got the tone,
A
and
rumble.
we'll make the best of it. And but between Joe being so solid and Ratboy being solid, and with that sound, we could kind of get away with it. But I was always a little bit sort of like, yeah, a little weak over on the low end there. But anyways, nobody seemed to notice.
We
Like I
didn't.
don't
We had.
remember
We
it.
didn't. We didn't develop that rhythm section relationship. Do you remember? Do we remember that gig we played? I think it was was it Thunder Bay or something else, something like Bay? I think it was around Thunder Bay. It was a small club. We rocked everyone's world there, and then afterwards, there were people coming up. There's this one guy that came up to us and was like, "Man, you guys were fantastic. You were amazing. I can't believe you guys play this." And he was like completely blown away. And he's like, "I rock so hard, I lost my teeth. I lost my teeth," he said. He like had a bridge or something, and he was like, "Look, his bridge was gone." I was like, "Man, I'm so sorry we rocked you so hard you lost your bridge, but I'm glad that we were able to do this for you." And as the club was clearing out, I happened to just see the guy's teeth on the floor. I was like, "Oh God, do I pick up this guy's teeth and chase him with his teeth? Like, what do I do at this point?" But we had rocked him so hard that yes, he lost his teeth at that point. We had a lot of positive, depending on which clubs we were playing at. We had a lot of positive reviews actually. If there were smaller clubs like rock clubs, people dug it immensely.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
larger like the Boot Sauce tour, we were sort of confusing them a little bit, but we still managed to sort of soldier on. The Ramones thing was very good for us actually.
So it's
People
quite
really dug it.
possible a lot of people saw the band on the Ramones supports and then went and saw the band in '94.
Certain
Right.
people I know definitely, like I know, like like Rich Jones, who's playing with Michael Monroe these days. um I know that he saw us supporting with the Ramones. He told me he saw us playing with Ramones in Toronto, went out and tried very hard to get the single like the next day. I think he had to order it. And who was actually at the Town Pump gig too. So like, those people, yeah, the reason, you heard about the band because you're at the Ramones
Mhm.
gig and so on, and then, and then became a big fan, all that stuff. Um, so, but the Ramones were only drawing about 1,000 people then. And I remember how hard we had to lobby to get that fucking gig. I mean, like, because I had, well, I guess we all did to a point, knew Joey, and so we'd bugging him and say, I get Chris Stein from Blondie, call Joey and tell him to put us on this tour and this and the other thing. And everybody wanted this fucking tour, which was sort of like, wouldn't have thought it would be that idea. It's like the Ramones were not that popular at that time.
They were
I
15
mean, no, they certainly were the icons that they are now. Um, and I remember we got the gig because Ratboy, you had a relationship with Johnny,
Yeah.
and I remember like Joey saying to Stein and to other people, or me maybe, just like, yeah, it's fine with me, this it's just got to deal with if Johnny's okay with it, then it'll be okay. And it was all coming down to Johnny. That's how we ended up getting that tour. But I just remember at the time, it's like, well, it shouldn't be that big a deal to get on this, but it was. And anyways, it's good we did.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to circle back to this album. This is the brand new album, the live album, Calling from Nowhereland, and it came from a cassette of yours, Mr. Ratboy, right? What is the
Yes.
story behind that cassette? How was it recorded? Where
To
was
be to be honest with you, I have no fucking clue what this cassette is. I used to talk to a lot of the sound man and stuff, trying to make them record or whatever if I could. And I got a couple of them from that. I don't know who the guy was, how he recorded it.
This is not from a desk though, is it?
No, which is better because the desk, you always have like loud drums and no
Yeah,
vocals or whatever. This is kind of what people heard.
yeah.
And I like what people heard. It's really good. I just think at the beginning, yeah, it doesn't get the sound right, but after a while, it's really good. And it's really tight. And it really shows, I guess, what we were doing live, which is the album is really, the clown room is really tight and kind of square in a way, but live we were extending stuff. There was you know, we were experimenting with stuff. I think that's what makes us very different from other bands. We're really not doing this kind of thing, all these 2 guitar bands where everything is super arranged and everything. But we were like really kind of doing different shit. And that night, we really landed on our feet. I mean, I'm not ashamed of any song on this thing. There's always one song where I hit a wrong chord or we just fuck something up. But in this one, I was just like, wow. Other than the sound being what it is. But then, and Chris will probably go along with me here, I'm a huge fan of these countless Stooges bootlegs from 1973 to 75 who sound like shit, but I listened to them over and over and over. And when I heard this, I was just like, wow, we have our own version of that. It's
you thinking the 71, the 71s stuff when the Jungle got it right, like, or the Raw Power era?
Well, let's be honest here. Like, to be honest, I mean,
like,
we were raised on this stuff. Most of us had, like, you know, Metallic KO is just the beginning of this. There's much more. I mean, it all came out like a million times afterwards, but I was eating this shit up. And so when I heard this cassette, I was just like, wow, we have our version of this kind of thing, you know, with Chris talking to the audience. It actually shows a side of us. We were having fun. I mean, we're just making fun of the Waltons or whatever. We're just,
but even
rock and roll. We were trying to turn this. Joe said it was really hard and really cold, but we were trying to make the best out of it. And we had a lot of fun doing kind of really juvenile shit.
Even if you listen to this live recording, there's a breakdown where Chris is telling that story. And even the breakdown works fantastically well. Not planned, but it just works really, really well.
Yeah, we didn't plan much, but we're kind of walking on a wire, but sometimes we fell, most of the time we didn't. And that night we didn't fall. And it was just, to me, it's when I say we were different, I think there was not so many bands doing this kind of thing at the time, because rock and roll at the time was already very professional. Like, we were just a real rock band. We just go there, probably no sound check because it's no use. I mean, the whole thing is just like the rock that I like.
Your style too. I mean, you know, you play very tasteful notes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not just a whole bunch of notes, like, you know, the discordant stuff. And it's like, nobody really, I don't know anyone that really plays that like you do, actually.
Yeah. But Joe does that too. Last year when we did that show, it was amazing too. I hadn't played with you for years, but it still clicked instantly.
Guys,
we did we did a tribute, like Kaka Waldo's Heartbreakers thing, right? Because the guy who's in the Golden Rat with me is a huge Thunders fan, and he wanted to do that, so we did it. And Joe flew in, and it really was the glue that put it all together. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been like that.
Right. That's kind of fun, though. That's kind of fun.
Rat sang like a pro the whole night, actually. Rat sang like a pro the whole night.
Yeah.
You were doing the vocal?
Yeah, I was Johnny Walter, everybody roll into one.
Right.
He had the attitude, he had the swagger, he had the whole bit going, actually. He was
But
really,
Joe
really
brought
good.
me he brought me a tie. He brought me a Walter tie, you know, the one that struck. So
Yes,
that was like my rock costume. I put that on and that was it. It worked.
All right. How old was the attendees? Like, were they all like, you know, fucking 1 million years old like us, or were there actually younger people coming out?
Japan is a strange crowd. Maybe Dennis can explain. You understand the Japanese crowd. How would you describe them?
All those guys are revered.
The crowd is, I don't know, like Joe, it's different than New York, right? They really, the Japanese go deep into whatever they want. If they bicycle, if they go bicycle, they will look like they're doing the Tour de France. You know, they will buy the best bicycle, they will dress up and everything. If they play golf, they have the best shit. And if they like Johnny Thunders, they will look just the same.
Yeah.
Regardless of how old they are.
They're very, very good at it, actually. They're fantastic. Hiroshi is a fantastic player too, actually.
Yeah. He plays Thunders note for note.
He plays Thunders note for note and flawlessly. And you know, watching Hiroshi, that his abilities, his palette that he can draw from, it's much wider than just the Thunders milieu. You know, he's just a really good guitarist. He's an excellent guitarist. all I can say. Rat, also one of my all-time favorite guitarists, because of what Chris was saying, the way he plays solos, and also because of the way he plays rhythm and his whole joie de vivre and way he approaches it.
Well, what's really funny is that in Japan, I've mostly played with the Golden Rat, where they see me as an acoustic guitar player singer. So they don't even know. Some of these guys have no clue that I actually am an electric guitar player.
But isn't that from the necessity of the club setup? Like you have to play acoustic because they
No,
don't
no, that
have,
was the
like,
idea. Like at one point, I just wanted to play acoustic shows because I don't have a band. I cannot find people like to play with. I mean, I don't know if you guys can, but I definitely cannot. But you would like, I know you would understand also. Hiroshi, he's like us. He listens to all kind of stuff. He's much wider than what he plays.
right.
He's into the blues or whatever. He can adapt. It was good to get him out of his box there. Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Japanese psychedelia. The guy, I forget him, is an amazing guitarist. I'm sure you know him, Ratboy. You'd love him if you don't. But the only band that's coming to my mind now, because I can never remember the name. I have enough remembering Western names, let alone Japanese ones. Playing the Golden Cups.
I played with them.
Okay, so you know the guy I'm talking about, that guitarist.
Yeah. Eddie Band. I actually had a band with the surviving members of the Golden Cups. Like I played a bunch of shows like 10, 15 years ago. We actually opened for, I did one show where we opened for Dennis Tech from Radio Birdman with this band.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really fun. Yeah, the Golden Cups are really good.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
This band was a jam band. We never rehearsed, not one rehearsal. They would say, "Oh, can you play?" They had 4 guys, but sometimes one guy couldn't go. So they would call me and say, "Can you play Thursday night in Yokohama?" And I would show up. And I had no fucking clue what we played. We played for 2-3 hours, and it was just really great.
Yeah.
And I would replace different people. One time would be one guitar player, one time the other.
Right, like free jazz.
That's funny that you know the Golden Cups, yeah.
Yeah, no, that guy, that guitarist in particular, he was played in a whole bunch of bands. I don't know why the Golden Cup's the only one that I'm remembering, but yeah, it's fucking amazing. I just got turned on to it recently. That's why I'm so enthused.
I have some videos probably that
it's like, as you're saying, they really take it to the limit, but it's fucking wild.
There's video online of the Walter tribute show last year.
Oh, okay.
Which is fantastic. And everyone gets on stage at the end, don't they? Like they're prone to do.
No, it was a good gig though. It was a good gig. It was fun, of course, but what? It was
the audience. This was the audience participation part of those Waldo's gigs, because the crowd is so enthusiastic, like they can't help themselves. Like they all picture themselves singing these songs.
Yeah.
So you give them that opportunity, and like they go off the rails. It's just it's quite a happening. Actually. I mean, I enjoy those shows very much because
and most of them can sing these songs better than I can.
Well, I don't know about that. But they're really into it. It was packed that night. Actually, Hiroshi put together a great show. It was a fantastic show. Actually, really good.
I love your Ratboy. Your back vocals, Ratboy. It says it's tradition, like Keith Strang from the Flesh Tones. That that Johnny Thunders, even trash. It's
I'm a background singer.
Well, yeah,
it's a different thing.
With the scrap bar tapes, right? Which are kind of fun,
actually, right?
Yeah. Like, the one where everyone's fucking ignoring us, totally ignoring us. It's like, we're playing pretty well, and doing it. We know it's fucking, ridiculous, but it's kind of funny just to like, do something that's like, maybe a really good version of something, and then nothing, just people talking, blah, blah, blah. But
that was a setup at Scrap Bar, though. It was like in a go-go cage, right? Like they had this like little box that put the band in one corner of the bar, and you were sort of like in a closet, right? You'd play to people. It was like, I don't know, like being on a TV or something. I don't know.
I remember the most amazing thing was no amps, so it sounds really loud, but we could talk to each other. We were talking to each other while we were playing.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was going to ask you, because I'm surprised because your sound actually sounds pretty good. Like all things, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Like, I think that was all you just one of the thing about that gig is they paid you like $100 or $200 or something, and all I had to do was go and plug in, even though you're
I,
stuck on the electric drums, electronic drums.
I plugged in the floor. I remember
Yeah,
plugging in
yeah,
the
okay,
floor,
yeah,
and there was some
crazy.
kind of amp emulation or something.
Shige
Yeah,
has these
so it
things.
wasn't your
They're
thing.
like,
You
they're
didn't
like,
like
they're
you
like,
didn't get that with pedals and shit. It was just like you plugged into that. Anyways, it
Yeah,
sounds
I mean, there
even,
was
you know,
no amp, and that's why we're
no.
laughing. You can hear us talk during like, we're
Yeah,
just goofing off. It's really funny, and it's
yeah,
really good for Joe because I really hear you screaming really well because this
yeah,
you go
yeah, yeah. Yes, I know.
over everything, right?
Actually, who gave you that nickname?
who
I
gave
don't
me
know
the
if
screaming?
Brad or me, one of us. It might have been
What
me, but
happened was
easily
that
could have
we're at
been.
there's a story behind this. We're at rehearsal, and Chris and Rat, who are the style masters basically for the band, came to me and they said, "Joe, you need a shtick." And I'm like, "I don't know what my shtick is." Like, "Well, we're going to develop a shtick for you. So here's what we got. We got a couple of ideas. We're going to try this out." So they said,
Okay.
Rat came up with this idea. He's like, jazz drumming, they get very enthusiastic and they let their emotion out. Why don't you try screaming your emotions like while you play? So we tried it at rehearsal, and both Chris and Rat were like laughing at what I was doing. They were like, "That's perfect." They're like, "Keep that." So Rat is very good at providing these kind of like handles, these kind of nicknames for folk, which
Okay.
become their sort of selling point, from there. So it sort of took on a life of its own at that point. And like I said, I
But
lost my voice about 4 days into that PILLBOX tour. So
I
took a
didn't
little while.
remember doing as much screaming as you were. I mean, I've got other things on my mind rather than woo in the background. But when I listen to those tapes, I go, "Oh, there's Joe again." Okay, and it's really in the video footage. It's
It's
like,
really in the video, or you couldn't tell it from your position. You probably couldn't tell it from like what was happening in the audience, right? It was probably like, who is that? Who's this weirdo screaming?
it sounded
You
like
know what?
somebody
Where is it?
enthusiastic, somebody
Right,
liking it.
somebody.
All right.
What's the story behind the video for Holly?
You know that video? I don't know if you guys remember, but it won South by Southwest Best Independent Video
I
in
remember
'90.
something like
Wow.
that. Yeah.
And the thing is that okay, I can tell this story.
Go
This
ahead.
guy,
I don't remember.
he had just graduated apparently from USC, which is University of Southern California. Their film school, which is very, it's a big whoop. You get into that. And so he came out and he had a friend who had one of the very first digital video cameras available. He's saying, "Oh, we'll do a video, no, all this stuff." And we were like, "Yeah, okay, sure, why not? Well, why not?" Because we didn't really know what the digital would look like, but we assumed it was going to be better than analog that we're used to, which always looks so sterile, right? And Turned out this guy, he did nothing. We're like so we went over to the guy's place. He had a place on 14th Street, and we an apartment, and he had white walls, and so
Right,
the background is a white wall, I believe,
right.
and that's Ratboy. Ratboy's the one who turned around like to get that angle, which is
Yeah,
a cool
yeah.
angle. And that's live, right? That's not like superimposed. Like I'm on the floor and Ratboy's doing his stuff behind us. And he set that shot up, which is a great shot. I give you all
Mm.
the credit in the world for imagination along those lines. Um, and so that was it. And of course, the sync was all off because I edited it. And I remember like how like the sync was off. So we would have just kept that shot for the whole thing. Like, which might have been a little dull, but then it's like, okay, we need something else. And so so then we did a couple shots of me, doing my thing or whatever, and a couple just Ratboy from underneath and shit. And then we saw the thing, and it was like, it's just kind of sitting there, not doing much. So then it's like, well, maybe we should get Joe in this. So I remember another day, Joe came over, and did got his 2 or 3 cuts in there, Um, and then it just sort of sat there, and I ended up taking it to Montreal, actually, I think was here, and cutting it in an offline place, um and just making, just trying to put it together with the sync so off, so it kind of worked. But then I don't know if we ever saw him again. Anyways, in the end we did it, and And the guy just picked it up, said, "Okay, looks great," and he took it to South by Southwest and won this award. But he really did nothing. Like, he did nothing. Ratboy deserves more credit than he does.
What
But
I think is
sure,
what's
sure.
funny afterwards is that it's just the three of us again, no bass player. I guess
Right.
Yeah, of course, right. Well, originally it was just gonna be the two of us. We didn't know what
it's
else to
very
do.
Bass
the
player
bass
not
players
appearing in the film. Right. Right.
the bass player situation is kind of very Spinal Tap, you know, like
Yeah.
just they explode or they disappear. It's like so the only video doesn't have a bass player.
Right.
I
Right.
remember we reduced the contrast in it. That was our idea. Like
Yeah, I
to
think so.
yeah, pull a contrast back to give it a bit more of a feel. Yeah, sorry. I don't know.
You've mentioned
Everything.
you've
Oh,
mentioned
buddy.
bass players there, and one of my questions is on the recording of this, it's dedicated to Steve Mark, who played bass on this album. Do each of you have a fond memory of Steve, who passed away some years ago?
I love Steve Mock. He was like a kindred spirit in many, many ways. He liked to get high. He liked to laugh. He used to get stray cats from the street and keep them. He was a lovely guy. A sense of humor, very sort of dark, kind of, uncouth. Um, he was great with that weird sort of Baltimore accent. Um, so I liked him a lot as a guy. And he was a little off center, I'd say. But I liked him a lot as a guy, and as a musician, he was okay. Um, Better than what we'd just come from. And but he still didn't really have the hair, did he? Like, his hair was too long. He didn't quite look like the rest of us, and that was kind of important to us. But but I mean, I liked him a lot as a guy, and as a musician, I don't remember. I don't think he really contributed much of anything. I mean, other than played the bass, but I don't think he
Mhm.
ever wrote any lines or anything like that.
No.
And then
Had any of you
he
seen him
know?
in his former outfit, Skin and Bones? Had anyone seen him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have,
Uh,
yeah, Limelight or
yeah,
something like that.
when Motorcycle Boy came to New York the first time, we played a couple of shows with Skin and Bones.
Okay.
So that's
Were
probably
they
the first time I met him.
kind of
Uh,
generic kind of rock band of the time, weren't
they
they? I never.
were really good actually. Like as far as this type of band goes, I thought they
Right.
had good songs. The
Right.
the recordings are good. The singer I thought was very, very good. And Jimmy K. Bones, the guitar player, was very good also. He ended up playing in Kicks and a bunch of stuff. He has a studio. He does like all kind of stuff still playing. They were really fun guys to hang out with. I liked them. I thought they were better, much better than the earlier version of the same kind of thing.
Right.
Right. I mean, I remember from
Terrible.
the start of the tour, I would always end up rooming with Steve. You guys would room, and I would split a room with Steve. And I didn't know Steve that well when we started, and I was hating him for the first week and a half we were actually out, because as soon as he'd get into the room, he would somehow destroy the bathroom. He would take all the towels, throw them on the floor, somehow clog the toilet, somehow just ruin everything. He'd be like, I don't know what's going on. And I'd have to like sort of evacuate and go somewhere else to try to like, I don't know, find some respite. This went on for like a week and I was hating him, but then he grew on me and he started doing this kind of like what I actually thought was like performance art. He did this thing outside of a hotel where he's in these rainbow tights. You remember his hair was like this.
Yeah.
It's just like he's got a cigarette and he's walking around. And there are these business people, like Canadian business people, coming in and out of the hotel. And he's saying, "Excuse me, do you have a light? Excuse me, do you have a light?" Like to everyone coming in and out. And he was talking to me about something else in the meantime. And I was watching him do this and I was like, what the hell is he doing? And I realized it was more like performance art at that point. And then I sort of got Steve. And then once I got him, I sort of loved him from then on. The funniest Steve story I have is from after the Pillbox experience. There was a rock magazine that was throwing something called a Brown Liquor Invitational, where we were supposed to go and we were supposed to see who could get loaded the heaviest without passing out. Needless to say, I didn't win. Steve did win, though, because he's quite a big guy. So we're walking back from this thing. And this is downtown, like on Avenue A. And we're going to head out, I guess, to one of the pizza places there to try to work this off. And he says to me, he says, "Can I borrow your phone?" I said, "Sure." He says, "I want to call my girlfriend." So I lent him my phone. He gets on the phone. He says, "Hello?" "Yes, hello. I'm over here," because we're walking next to each other. He's like, "Okay." And he looks at me and he says, "She wants to talk to you." And I'm like, why does Steve's girlfriend want to talk to me? Like, I don't know Steve's girlfriend. Whatever disagreement they're having, I can't help them with. So, okay, but I'll take the phone anyway. So I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. And the woman there's like, what about, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, I was like, you have to talk to Steve. Whatever this is, like, don't talk to me. Like, you have to work it out with him. So I hand the phone back. Steve starts talking again. He said, oh, she really, really, really wants to talk to you. So he hands me the phone back. I'm talking. And what I don't realize is that what he's done is he's taken my phone. He's actually dialed my wife. Unbeknownst to me, I'm telling my wife, no, you don't want to, because I don't recognize her voice, because I'm not thinking it's her. I'm like, no, don't talk to me. Talk to Steve. You have to work this out with Steve. My wife is getting furious with me, and I don't realize what's happening. Anyway, this is the kind of like situation you'd find yourself with him every now and then, or something like the theater of the ridiculous would just suddenly pop up out of nowhere and suddenly take over. Steve,
yeah, that's true. He was a really funny guy, wasn't he? He like in his own kind of world. Yeah, reckless. I loved him for that.
Well, it's great that you could dedicate this album to him.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the circumstances of his death, it's like, when I heard that, are you fucking kidding me? Like, especially him. He wasn't, of all people. No, he wasn't a
violent guy. No, he was very much into saving, like you said, rescuing animals, and like he had a very different side to him. Yeah.
I remember when he, because I still, when I'd be in New York after the band, I'd still go and, hang out with him a bit. And I remember he had his gig doing lights at CBGB's. And I was like, and he was proud, he talking about his light design and stuff like that. And I'm going, lights at CBGB's? There's like 3 of them, no? I think there were 4. Yeah. But, he took that, he was really saying, oh, I've got this blue par on this. And, it was just funny. I couldn't even believe that they paid him to do that. But that's what that's how he's.
They had a more complicated light setup than that. Actually, it was a bit more than 4. They had more than 4 lights. Let's put it that way.
Did they? Okay. I just remember 4. I mean, I'm okay. Yeah. Okay. You would remember better, Joe. Although how many fucking times I play that room in my life.
And you were filmed playing in that room, right? So there you go.
With the drum machine too. That hurt. It's like, because the way we got the gig, because the guy got the gig, was the guy said, well, I'm going to be in the band. It's like, yeah, but you're not, really in the band. No, I've got you this Woody Allen gig. I want to get paid for the day. So, we sort of had no choice. And this guy was, I could go on forever, but whatever. He was special, let's say. So he said, well, I have a Lynn drum, which at the time was like, all
top of the line.
I'll program the Lynn drum. He says, I'll play drums, but you don't play drums. That's not a good thing. Drummers is better if they can keep a fucking beat, So I got this drum machine, and it'll be great, and I'll hit some cymbals and this and that. And so that's it. So for me, every time I hear it and I look at it, it's just like lifeless. Like it's like, like there's a big moment, maybe the biggest moment of my life, or not life, but career. And it's like, it's just like, it's just lazy and slow. And I hear the, it's like, could have been, we played that song well live, anyways. But yes, you're right.
Compromises.
Although I suspect the film had other lights. I can't remember, but I'm sure they did. I know that Woody Allen told me to change my clothes.
Wow.
If I might chime in here, I made a video at CB's, but the first Sour Jazz video was in the toilet. It's famous for
Pat throwing up at the end.
Not only Pat throwing up at the end, but also being the last. It's the best way. This toilet. When we wanted to make the video, we thought about the most rock and roll place in the world, and we thought CBGB's, and then we thought, well, what's the top of CBGB's would be the toilet. Can you imagine all the people took a crap in there? So we went and we said we want to shoot a video.
Nobody's like, that's like the front end. Yeah, back end. It's like
Pete ran away, right? That was it.
Yeah, I would have shat on the floor before
before you go in there.
I'm sure I wouldn't be alone.
But I remember we went to Hilly and we said we want to shoot a video, and he goes, okay, I got a bed on Thursday. And I said, no, we don't need the stage. We want the toilet. Go, oh, the toilet. You can go anytime you want. So we did it with Curtis. And it's really, these videos turned out really good, and people watch it to see what CB's toilet was like. It's
Well,
it's, it's a
it's
piece of history, and I
a
heard that even
document.
a gallery in Europe reproduced the
Yeah.
CB's toilet, and I think they used the video as like to see what it was
Oh
like.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. That even sounds remotely familiar. Did we ever? I don't remember playing CBs with PILLBOX. Hard to imagine that we wouldn't have. But I remember
Maybe
like
not.
then of course
Maybe
Brown.
not.
Yeah, I wonder why we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I
Wh-
don't know. I remember playing with Motorcycle Boy, BB, a bunch of people, but not.
When this album
Yeah,
came out, though, there was a month. Was there a month-long residency at the Continental Divide?
Yes,
yeah.
Mondays, right?
No, Wednesdays. Wednesdays.
Wednesday,
Every Wednesday in November. I found I
the
still have a
poster, right?
On the
sticker for
calendar.
that. For the
Calendar.
yeah, I don't like yes, but I still have a sticker somewhere that we could stick on like, every Wednesday in November. That
Oh,
was good because by
yeah,
that point people were, I mean, we weren't huge or nothing, but word had gotten around that we were a pretty good band and the record was out, and people were hearing the record and, everyone who heard well, maybe not everyone, but most people who heard that record recognized it was a pretty strong outing. And so yeah, we did that residency and we hyped it and everything. And so, there was that was like, we were kind of happening for a few minutes.
You had
You
problems
know,
getting the album into some stores because of the cover art, correct?
who fucking knew? Yeah, that was like I'd forgotten all about that until recently. Like but yeah, no, we Ed Ratboy hooked up Ed Culver to do that. It was fucking brilliant. He's done great covers. Of course, I can't remember any right now. Gun Club, I think he did the first one, but anyway, whatever. But
Bad Religion.
and we just sent him the record, and said, and it's called Jimbo's Clown Room because Ratboy thought it was Jimbo, not Jumbo. Everyone starts
yeah.
saying, call it Jimbo. So I don't know. Rat Boy told me about this club in LA called Jimbo's Clown Room. I just couldn't believe what a great name that was. And I do think Jimbo is still better than Jumbo because the
I
clown
think
comes
it's much
out of
better.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Clown comes out of nowhere with Jimbo. With Jumbo, it's like, oh, Jumbo the clown. Okay, he's got a room.
Mhm.
So,
Jimbo,
Brad, how did you
he's got
how
a
did
room
you
with
hook up?
clown.
How did you hook up
But
Ed Culver?
we're
It
friends.
was he owed me actually. He shot the video. He shot the cover for the Motorcycle Boy album.
Okay.
Right.
It was really
Right.
good. It's the one that they used on a reshoot. But to make a long story short, I had quit the band before the album came out, and they replaced me with a lookalike. And
Right.
they asked Ed to reshoot the cover, and he felt really bad because he really liked the first chart and everything. So he called
Yeah.
me and he said, "I'm very sorry, but I had to reshoot the cover. They paid me and everything, and I need the job, but I'll owe you one. You can, I'll shoot your next band or something." And so when the album was finished, we we thought about this Jimbo's Clown Room thing, but we couldn't go. It would have been great to go in front of Jimbo's Clown Room or Jumbo's Clown Room and take a picture, whatever, but we couldn't do anything. So I called him up and I said, "Can you just go take a picture of Jumbo's Clown Room?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do that." He thought it was a great idea. So he went, he took what became the back cover, and he didn't think it was too dark. He thought it was not happening enough. So he had the idea of he took the matchbook and he set it up on like that, like what the cover became. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
this is what I thought the cover should be. But then in the end, if you turn it around, just he shot the other side. And we were like, wow, this is so cool. It was just sleazy enough.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it was when we got that cover immediately. Said, "Wow, that's fucking great."
That's it. That's it.
No, we even like minimal input on our end, and just brought back this cover. It was fantastic, and nobody's thinking. Well, I mean, the tits on them are like it's hardly vulgar, right? It's just like who's thinking that anyone's gonna have a problem distributing it?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the first thing we found out. Like Larry too, Larry Germack was the reason we worked up with Larry originally because on that label, which they just had like Kevin K. I don't think there was anything else on it. Um, uh, was because Larry was the top salesman at Relativity, which were big distributors at the time, and that was always a trick, getting your record actually in the stores. With 39 Steps, we were on fucking MTV, where we were like playlisted on MTV. There was like 100 records in the country, So anyway, whatever. So getting getting in the stores is a big thing, and Larry would definitely do that. Plus, he's a really nice guy. He totally understood the band, loved the record. He was like exactly who you want in your corner, you
Yeah.
know. And he didn't think he made us put the NYC on Pillbox because we were like, yeah, it seems kind of dumb. But you know, there was Susan Hyatt in San Francisco who had been in the Pandoras, and she had a Pillbox, and there might have even been another one. So it's like, all right, well, if we got to be something, I guess NYC is better than, you know, Pillbox Albany, you know, or whatever. So, but nobody anticipated that there would be an issue with the cover, but there was, and so the big chains like Tower and stuff wouldn't stock it because it's this obscene cover. So it didn't help our cause much, you know.
Although
But
I saw
who
it, I did see it in Tower on the Upper West Side. Actually, I was all proud.
did
We
you?
had our,
Oh yeah.
it was on 66th Street. They had it there actually.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. I remember you
Um,
telling me that at the time.
yeah.
Either way, I do know that, you know, maybe they changed their mind. I don't know, but I do remember that that he had a lot of trouble with that. And then I was surprised. I saw on Discogs maybe a year ago the records up there, and they've blanked out the cover because
Yeah, I've seen that.
it's ridiculous.
Maybe I should hold that.
2005. It's like really
Yeah.
Artie Press and
Dennis, the
Artie.
fingers of propriety. Good job, Dennis. Good job.
Well, the song "Get Hip" references a couple, Janet and Jerry, who are hitchhiking to the Grateful Dead. Who or what was the inspiration behind those two characters, Chris?
You know, Janet and Jerry are just, you know, just names that sounded good together.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea was, it was sort of like, you know, at that time, like, you know, there were like jam bands like Fish and God Street Wine, and these things were all the rage. And so the lyric, you know, is sort of like, so kind of just showing the hypocrisy, going to the Grateful Dead, sort of hippie, peace and love and stuff, but he beats her when she's out of line. And it's like not necessarily even a direct hit on that scene. It's just more like, you know, no, I'm the shit. I am the action. This is the action. It's not that. Everything else is bullshit. It's like, you know, and here's the sort of, you know, an iota of truth here and this. And of course, you know, and I like, you know, what is it? Climb on board, sugar, I am the action. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. So the yeah, I ams are sort of insecure. Yeah, I am. It's like, yeah, I am. You know, I am. I am. But, you know, the singer, me, isn't really so confident that he is the shit. But that's the idea. And it's basically taken off on, you know, Bo Diddley and all this, like I'm the greatest ever type, you know, that tradition of singers and lyricists. But that was the idea. So it's like Get Hip, and also in Get Hip, you know, because we put that single out through Get Hip, which I thought was an amazing name for a label. So I just liked it. So okay, make a song out of it.
I went to Pittsburgh a couple of years ago, and I went to Get Hip Records, and
Oh yeah,
I wanted to see them, and the guys were not there, but there was a young dude like working in the record store, and they had a box of the singles that they released in order by number, and ours was in it. And I told the young dude, I said, "That's my band." He was like, "Really, really?" That was pretty cool. They still
yeah,
sell it. They still have it at the store.
yeah. No, they're what's the guy's name? Craig, the singer.
Craig and what the Cynics.
Yeah, no, the Cynics. I love the Cynics too.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah.
Great cover of
Dennis,
ABBA.
how did you find the 45, Dennis? How'd you get that?
Mr.
What
Ratboy.
what
Oh,
what do you
Rat,
mean?
Rats. Okay. I mean, like, because I would imagine it's a little difficult to find at this point. It's sort of a collector's item or something. It's a little rare. So,
I
like,
still
actually
have a
find
few if you
you got a
need.
few.
Yeah, I might
No,
have
I've
a
got
couple.
a
I can
couple in
hook
my.
you up.
You can Rats the.
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't have a copy of the Clown Room. A friend of mine, I'd like sort of, you know, not great at keeping track of all this stuff, um, and a friend of mine who really likes the record said, "Well, you got to have a fucking copy." So he actually bought one off Amazon or something and gave it to me for my birthday or whatever. But it's for their, you know, yeah. But the single's out there.
Did you ever write remaster the record for the YouTube upload? It's because it sounds different. Actually, it sounds much more like kind of like magnified in some way. It's a little unusual.
You know, I don't. Yeah, right. But you know, they did there wasn't remastered. Like I don't have
Dennis,
the
hide that.
what?
It does. There's a different sound quality to what's up on YouTube than what I'm
Yeah,
used
well,
to.
I mean I mean they remastered it for the vinyl, you know. But no,
Oh,
you know, I think and then they put it up.
Good
They
edit.
put it up
Good job.
online and everything too, right? I mean, they put it up on YouTube at least, and I don't know, Spotify or whatever. But you know,
Right.
the original, it's up there, like you know, through Pillbox NYC or whatever. That's lifted directly from our CD. And then yeah, right one. I guess yeah, they no, they did something. Yeah, I wasn't as involved as you might
well,
assume.
with the re-release, and you did touch on it before, with Rich Jones. I mean, this saw re-release in 2021. Um, but you know, the artwork which Rich Jones did, what are the odds of him being at this show? I
I
mean,
know.
it's a small world, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, all those guys. Well, I mean, they had their band, the Black Halos, and they were all big fans. All big fans. I mean, we didn't know that. You know, we didn't. You know, I didn't meet Rich until
Mm.
you know, but much later.
Well,
Um, but yeah, it's kind of weird that he was at that gig,
yeah.
and I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that because he told me. He said, "You know, I saw you at the Ramones, and then I saw you, you know, in Vancouver, and you were making fun of the Waltons," which you know, like he remembered it all quite well. So I'm looking forward to him hearing the record. Actually, you know,
Yeah.
just because I
I
mean,
have
a
been in
few
touch
people
with him,
I
and
know that we know will really like the record
yeah,
because you like the Clown Room, then you'll like this record, right?
I listen to this recording. I hear a band who are very much at their peak with talent and power, you know, power evident on every song. I guess, what emotions does it stir in each of you when you listen to this recording?
I'll let you guys go first so I can
I'll
comment. So I can.
go. I'll go. Uh, I'm very proud. I mean, I'm very happy that we did this and
Mm,
the record and even the tour. When you do stuff like this, I mean, you're going through the motions, you don't think so much. You just, you know, I was fresh off Motorcycle Boy. I didn't know what I would do after, whatever. It's like everything's pretty intense and you go through it and you don't really know if it's worth anything. I mean, or good or bad or whatever. But listening to this made me listen to the Clown Room again, and I really think it's a good record, and it's somewhat, that's what I wrote for the liner notes or for like the little piece, like the one sheet. It's interesting, like we talk about Rich Jones, to see that it influenced some people. There's like you know, we saw some bands and we went to put bands together that sound like that, and
mm,
we somewhat achieved that. It's weird. It was in a sea of grunge and shit, we managed to do that. Maybe we're not the Stooges or nothing like that, but like a small version of this kind of thing. And I didn't think that we would. I mean, I didn't think that that would happen, you know, and it was not overnight either. That record sold a little bit, but it never really disappeared. And I think as some other bands from that period turn really lame, I'm trying to listen to some stuff sometime and just like, it sounds like shit, you know, like we talk about lame drums or like drums that are super gated or compressed. I listen to a lot of stuff and it just sounds like shit. And this record doesn't. It's like a good wine. It gets
mm,
better and
mm.
it's timeless and it's, I don't know. I didn't think it was gonna be that when we did it. And finding this cassette, I thought as a live band, we were also that, you know what I mean? We were also quite unique and righteous, I think. And I'm pretty
Right.
proud of that.
Yeah, I think fans have been left wanting more, apart from that wonderful debut. So it's wonderful that
And for
this has
me,
come out. Yeah.
like like I said earlier, personally, I think it's better than Motorcycle Boy. Like Motorcycle Boy is kind of like legendary, and people say, yeah, he was in Motorcycle Boy. But I honestly think that this is much more thought about, much vital than the Motorcycle Boy album. I think I'm much more proud of this one,
Mm,
and it's my idea and Chris's idea. It's like it's more like a group thing, you know. Motorcycle Boy had 20 guitar players before me and had 20 after me, and I just happened to be on the record, and yeah, I wrote some of the songs that are stand out on the Motorcycle Boy album, I guess, but it's not. it's not life-changing for me. It was like a foot in the door, but this is really what I wanted to do. So it's the first time I did exactly what I wanted to do for me.
How
I don't
about
know
you?
for you guys. I mean, Joe, what do you think?
Uh, and listening to it, I was very, also like you, I was very proud of the musicianship. I was really proud of the fact that the recording caught us on a show where we did perform really consistently and well. And you can tell that we've actually, this is on the West Coast swing of a national tour, because we had really had, you know, a chance to sort of like hone it. And I was really impressed by the fact that we we really pulled off, like without hiccups or fuck ups, basically, uh that show. You know, I didn't remember us being that precise.
Yeah.
But there's no overdubs in this thing. There's no fake crowd sounds. There's none of that that's happening.
Should add
And
some.
it's a consistent show, you know. So I'm really proud as a musician on that. I'm really proud to be part of that, this recording. Actually, it's really it's quite a neat thing.
For me, the Clown Room to me stinks of New York of that period, like the you know the our scene in New York, and it's opiated, and the live record, this new the new record, Calling from Nowhereland, live in Vancouver '94 with these with demos, plug in there.
But
I had forgotten all these things. I'd forgotten that we did that big thing after Sister Caroline. And then I tried to sing them, a little differently, like just to, just because why not? But I knew, no, I knew we had a crack little fucking band there. I knew that at the time. So I'm not surprised that everything is tight and strong. And, we were in the middle of a tour too, right? So it's not like we knew those songs pretty well by the time we were in Vancouver. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, I tend to hear like bad notes more than anything. I go, ooh, I didn't really hit that note, did I? But, but overall, I think, yeah, it's wonderful. And I'm thrilled that anybody would want to fucking hear it all these years later, that gives me a lot of, pleasure. I'm really, that's very flattering and great because that's what you want, right? I mean, either way the records don't sell at the time, you do kind of want them to be, a document that ideally somebody, 30 years later would listen and go, oh, that was pretty good. These guys, especially with everything being in context,
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. Like a lot of bands that we considered much bigger than we were got big record deals and stuff. It's nothing left of them, like they're nobody's favorite band.
yeah,
And you know what I mean? And they got
yeah.
much more than we ever got. I know tons of bands in LA who got deals on Geffen, A&M, or whatever, and nobody gives a flying fuck about them. Or there's nothing left because it was a product. It was not vital in any way.
Yes. And that was it. It's like, it's like the way the record labels worked at the time, and you kind of certainly for a rock record, you kind of needed, to really make an impression, you kind of need a major label behind you. And that's it. It was all just a product. It's just sort of like, all right, like how many bands that sounded like Pearl Jam that ended up doing record
Yeah.
deals and selling records that are just like, well, okay, it's just another band that sounds whose roots are fucking Stone Temple Pilots. So, you know what I mean? It's like there was never much to it because the whole idea was to make it sound like everything else and get on the radio, and it was all bullshit, right? So and for us, that's not why we play music. You know what I mean? We want to make an impact. Definitely, I did. At least want to make an impact on the culture, which to me just sort of stunk, and it's always kind of stunk for the most part. And have an impact on that. But at the very least, since that didn't happen, but at the very least, to make something that holds up, and people like in 100 years from now, if they're still on Earth, will listen and go, oh, okay, those guys, okay, they kind of
Well,
got it. And
in,
and it
in
worked for the whole tradition of that, like from the late '70s New York thing, and it just sort of feels like maybe we're the last gasp of that era.
yeah, yeah, well said. I mean, in closing, may I add that the material on this album has endured. and is loved by so many who get it, you know, the people who get it. And in the ensuing years, you know, PILLBOX's reputation has only grown, and the band is deserving of the respect that has come your way in recent times. And I think that the new live album, you know, really upholds the band's legacy and reinforces what fans have long known, that PILLBOX were the real deal and one hell of a great rock and roll band.